All right, let's talk operating rhythm for SDRs, okay? So what I mean when I say operating rhythm or operational rhythm is the way in which you run your weeks, okay? Now, if you're new into sales, let me break this down for you very straightforward, okay? You have 48 weeks in a year that you need to be producing, okay? 12 weeks a quarter. You have 4 quarters. When you break it down that way, that is just not a lot of time. Like that is actually like next to fuck all time, okay? 12 weeks can go like that. And if you have 4 12-week sprints, they can go like that. Okay. So how do you start to become successful as an SDR? You break your quarters down into 1 week increments. Yeah. And the best way to do that is by getting a tight handle of your calendar with your operational rhythm. Now you're probably looking at this and going, okay, well then what do I focus on? Very straightforward. You as an SDR focus on 3 things. Okay. One, you focus on your prospecting blocks. So if you're looking at the screen over here, I've made this simple by color coding a few things, right? So I've got my prospecting sessions in my calendar in purple. So if you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 prospecting sessions. Okay. This is my operational rhythm when I used to be an account executive, but I literally did almost the same amount of prospecting as my SDR, right? Like I would prospect once a day at least, and I would do typically 90 minutes every block, okay? 90 minutes to 2 hours of prospecting every day. The only reason I usually didn't do prospecting on Fridays when I was an AE is because I like to hit my meeting targets by Thursday. I hated leaving anything to the end of the week. So the only time I would prospect on a Friday when I was an account executive was if I was behind my personal goal for meetings for the week. My personal goal when I was an account executive was booking 4 meetings a week. Okay, so for any of you SDRs, I'm not trying to be patronizing here. I'm saying this with love. If your goal is to book 4 meetings a week as an SDR, you need to be pumping those numbers up, okay? Because there are account executives out there that do 4 meetings a week while running a full pipeline, managing the channel, doing a whole bunch of other shit, right? Forecasting, progressing deals forward, proposals, the whole nine, okay? So you want to start becoming really efficient with your time. How do you do that? Use your calendar. So I would recommend, in terms of operational rhythm, non-negotiable, block it in your calendar, 5 prospecting sessions every week, bare minimum. If you're an SDR, and again, this video is SDR readiness, I would be ideally doing somewhere close to about 8 prospecting sessions. My favorite was to try get some calls in at around 8:15 a.m., 8 a.m. in the morning. I try to get a quick 30 to 60 minutes of calls in first thing in the morning. The reason for that is it's a good time to catch people when they're getting into work, right? Like, you know, people are pretty chatty, especially executives. You catch them in the morning, first thing in the morning, they'll chat to you. They're a lot more receptive to speaking to you then, right? So I would do my morning blocks. So usually I would probably do somewhere from 8:30 to about 9:15 before the first volley of meetings usually start for people at around 9 o'clock, 9:30. Ideally 8 o'clock, right? So get on the phones, 8 o'clock, quick 30 to 45 minutes. And then again in the afternoon, right, I would probably be aiming for kind of mid-afternoon. I'd do another prospecting block, you know, usually somewhere from about 2 o'clock to 3:30, 4 o'clock, I'd get in a block of prospecting. If I wanted to, I would sometimes keep that for after hours, because another good time to get people on the phones, especially executives, is anytime after 4:30 to about 5:30, 6 o'clock, because all the meetings are over, unless they're doing like different time zones, but usually you can catch them then as well. So what I would recommend though is block this shit in your calendar. Have it blocked out, right? Make sure that it is like locked in, blocked out, and you stick to it. The second thing that you want to focus on, and I talked about this in the prospecting module, is also the setting up for prospecting, right? It's so critical that you set up for your prospecting blocks. And the setup for prospecting is, again, you can see here, I've got it in orange. I've got 2 blocks at a time where I'm setting up for prospecting. And what I'm doing there is I'm going through my pipeline generation planning tool, which, by the way, I've talked about this in the prospecting video. I'll have a link down below as well if you need to access that tool. But essentially that tool is a way for you to plan out what you are going to be saying on your prospecting blocks. It's so important that you do this. Who am I going after? What is my talk track? You want to be nailing that down in your prospecting setup blocks. And I recommend bare minimum 1 to 2 of these, right? I usually recommend at least 2 of these where you're doing 60 to 90 minutes where all you're doing is preparing for prospecting, finding people, finding contacts, making sure they're in the CRM, using your pipeline generation planning tool, putting your talk tracks in there, doing any research into the account. So critical that you do this. So when you show up to your prospecting blocks, you are highly effective, right? The third thing when it comes to operating rhythm is you want to make sure that you're dedicating time to learning, right? So find some time. I used to do this first thing in the morning because I typically did my prospecting more in the afternoon, right? But find some time. It doesn't need to be an hour. It can be 30 minutes. Do it at the end of the day if you need to, right? End of the day, 30 minutes. Maybe you're on the train back home. Maybe you're on the bus back home. Maybe you just got home, before you kick your shoes off, plump yourself down on the couch, right? Grab a white paper, grab a customer story. I talked about this in the SDR 101 video that I did as part of this SDR Readiness Series, which the link is down below. But find a customer story or find something that is going to be useful for you to learn and spend 30 minutes on learning. So important that you get into the habit of doing this daily as well. Those are your 3 things that you need to prioritize. In the same token, you as an SDR need to become ruthless in removing shit out of your calendar. Meetings that you don't need to be on, get it off your calendar. Remove it from your calendar. Internal meetings that are garbage, get rid of it from your calendar, right? Like anything that you don't need to be on, don't be on it. Be ruthless about removing stuff from your calendar that is not useful for you. This is something that I recommend to all of the people in our mentoring programs, whether you're an SDR in my mentoring program or whether you're an account executive in my mentoring program. I talk about this religiously, right? And I know some of you that might be on my program already that are watching this and having a laugh because I am fucking ruthless when it comes to removing shit out of the calendar that doesn't need to be there. The only 3 things that you need to focus on for anyone in sales is finding, progressing, and closing deals. Okay? If your activities do not line up with those things, then get it out of your calendar. It doesn't fucking need to be there. Okay? So that is your operating rhythm. What I recommend you do is every Sunday, block out a little bit of time before the work week starts. Go through your calendar, remove any shit that doesn't need to be there, block out your prospecting times and make sure that there's a reoccurring invite that is blocked in the calendar. Make sure that you have 2 setup blocks locked in the calendar. Make sure that you have 30-minute learning blocks locked in the calendar. And if you want to go above and beyond, find some stuff that you would want to allocate to those learning blocks, right? So that way you're not showing up to that learning block and going, what am I learning, right? Find a bunch of customer stories, bookmark them and say, this week I'm going to go through these 5 customer stories in my 5 30-minute blocks, or this week I'm going to go through these 5 articles that are relevant to my industry in this learning block. And that's what I'm going to focus on. Do the work, prepare, execute your operational rhythm, okay? The other things that I'll also share, guys and girls, is make sure that you're prioritizing your health, okay? Make sure that you're getting some form of training in. Make sure that you're staying active. The reason for that is you are an athlete, okay? When I was in tech sales in my early years, I made sure that I was on top of my health, my fitness, still to this day, staying active, staying sharp, prioritizing everything below my neck down so that I have the energy to be able to perform at a really high level. And every week I took stock of my performance. So you get to the end of the week and you look at some key metrics. Did I do my prospecting every fucking day? Did I book my 4 to 8 meetings that week? Did I do my 2 setup blocks? If you missed anything, you got to be hard on yourself. Why did you miss it? What happened? And how do we make sure it doesn't happen again? That is the attitude with which you have to attack your role. Because if you don't, you're going to be stuck in an SDR position like 2 years later. And for any of you that are SDR leaders, you want to be coaching your team and staying on top of their calendars, right? Help them build their ideal calendar and make sure that you keep them accountable to executing the shit that is in their calendar. That is how they succeed as SDRs. That is how they move up into account executive positions. Anyways, hope that was useful. Again, if you're dialing in, if you're clicking onto this video cold, this is part of a broader series. So my team should have a link down below. Go and see the rest of the series. And if you want to get access to these slides, download link down below as well. Go check that out. If you need any additional help, reach out to me, book a call. There's a link down there. I'll see you in the next one.